brothers, sisters, there is much talk about the declining of the human race, about how we are not what our ancestors were, about how we are not what our fathers were. But this talk I'd like to lay to rest. Now, to progress, we have to accept that we must respect our fathers, our grandfathers, and our forefathers, and all those human beings who have come before us. But we should not allow the ghost of who they were to hold us back. Not allow what their dreams were to become our dreams alone. For in past generations, we see this time and time again. Human beings have been working towards a survival state, a comfortable survival, and working towards a national identity. Now these things have become dissatisfying for us. They've become materialistic. We are starting to see, as this generation and as generations to come, that materialism, material identity, identification with one land, identification with one kind of people, identification with one kind of belief, simply isn't enough. Why do we see depression skyrocketing among my generation and generations after? It is skyrocketing because despite the efforts of our ancestors and our fathers and our mothers and our brothers and sisters, we see that living a comfortable life and with religions that we completely conceived in past generations and are attempting to hold to isn't enough for us anymore. We have to understand God, the gods, spirits, and ourselves in greater and greater ways, so that we do not regress. We do not waste what our fathers and mothers have done in the past. That we move forward. That we accept that everything that they've done did not produce the dream that we must embrace. The dream that we must embrace is the idea that despite everything that has happened throughout human history, there is a new movement happening within our consciousness. Now, the consciousness of man is one. We do not know this completely yet, but people are being more and more open to the fact that all human consciousness is interconnected, and that belief about God or the gods, though seemingly separate, are actually parts of the same whole. That human beings rely on each other's understanding of the whole in order to experience this grander superconsciousness. The subconscious of man has been working through our ancestors, century after century, thousands of years after thousands of years, trying to figure out what is our place in this universe. And the place that we hold now is far greater than any that have come before. In the past, we have become obsessive in our delvings into what a nation is, what a state is, what a city is. We have tried to create a meaningful life through politics, through societal standards, through certain norms that our ancestors created. And many people think that we should hold to those norms and we shouldn't progress further. But this is incorrect. We have to progress. Because otherwise, all the efforts made previously by our fathers and mothers were wasted. They didn't know what they were fighting for. But my generation and generations to come are exactly the kind of human being that was meant to be produced. That they produced not knowing that they were relying upon a super consciousness we are now embracing. People are starting to question, should I just stay with my religion? Should I just stay with my national identity? Or is there something more to humanity? Is there something more to even understanding what it is to be a human? Is there something behind all of this material? Is there something behind all this human spirit, this national spirit, this political spirit, even a lot of the times religious spirit? Is there something more to the soul that we have not found yet? And there is, brothers and sisters, there is more to the soul. We are working towards it. So, as you work through your own spiritual understanding, as you realize it is confined, start to look elsewhere. Start to find that there are ideas that can aid you along your journey to finding yourself. Because this generation and generations to come have been worked for quite some time. And through reincarnation, our ancestors are even more realizing this in us. Because we have lived these lives again, and again, in order to reach the point we're at. Now, as we go forward into the void beyond the spiritual knowledge that contains us, as we realize that this is of materialistic confines, which religion and politics has created for us, as we burst through these walls on all sides, know that you are not alone. You are not alone in your spiritual endeavors. Every single human being on the earth now is working through this karma in their own way, working through this progression, and realizing that they just have to take it up a level, take it up a notch. Incorporate different ideas from different traditions. Try and understand what your soul really is. Try to contact your soul in ways that your ancestors never would have imagined because they were confined to national identity, religious identity. Hell, even what they thought a human being was, and most certainly politics. The politics of the soul are infinite. The politics of man, materialistic man, are extremely finite, and we're starting to feel that. We're starting to feel the weight of this terrible burden that politics has placed upon us. Now, whether Democrat, conservative, say communist, fascist, libertarian, populist, it doesn't matter. Politics has placed a weight on us because we expect it to create a meaningful life for us, and it cannot. It will not. We can only create a meaningful life for ourselves by realizing our true nature, our absolute nature, our infinite nature. And this requires going beyond the confines of what our parents tell us, of what our brothers and sisters who try to stick to traditions tell us. Now, there are ancient traditions that people are starting to delve into, people starting to realize, me being one of them. And as we take these teachings from our ancient ancestors, we start to realize that there has been a lull in human progress when it comes to spirituality in the recent thousands of years. This lull we are meant to break. These confines we are meant to break. We are meant to break the chains that have been so tightly fastened upon us by tradition, by limited understanding, and by the idea that different tribes have to war, different nations have to war, that we cannot be one, that because our skin color is different, because our ethnicity is different, because of our culture is different, that we are separate. But this is not true. We will start to realize this in coming generations. We are already beginning that now. Just because we have democracy, just because we can elect, and just because we are open to other cultures, doesn't mean that we have truly merged in consciousness with our brothers and sisters. And that is the next step. That is the step that we must take as a human race, as a singular, undivided, basic, conscious being, moving forward, not forcing anybody to believe anything, but allowing free thought, and allowing everybody to have access to freedom of information, freedom of thought, and the reality that we don't have to rely on a few people to rule us. We can rule ourselves through spiritual life, and we can have a grander democracy as a human race, even in politics. Consider yourselves, brothers and sisters. I, for one, I have hope for the future. And hope for the future involves a union, not a division, not a separation, not an embracing of old lines, but a combination and erasing of those lines. Understanding what all of our history has led to. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. May all of you find yourself, for I am on that journey as well. May we all try and join as one humanity.